Are you ready to take your first steps towards financial freedom by investing in property? Whether you're a first-time investor or you started your portfolio but need some help continuing to grow, 2022 REB Buyers Agent of the Year and Rising Star finalist Lachlan Vidler and his team at Atlas Property Group are here to help. As experts in property investment, Lachlan and his team are ready to help you take your next step in growing your portfolio. By completing the research, sourcing and negotiations, Lachlan goes the extra mile to find you a high-performing investment property. Visit atlaspropertygroup.com.au to book in your discovery call absolutely free of charge.
This is a Momentum Media production.
Welcome to the Smart Property Investment Show, the podcast by investors for investors.
G'day, how you going? Phil Tarrant. Hope you're well. Host of the Smart Property Investment Show, and I've just got a moment just before coming on air, and I sat back and went, wow, has it been that long? How this podcast has grown and evolved and maneuvered and gone through nearly now, I would say, a full market cycle. And it depends, your connectivity with property. It's a long game if you want to make good dough. Some people do it quickly, but a lot of them blow their dough as a result of it. We've been doing this now for about 7 years, which is huge. And I think back of the journey of the last couple of years, we've navigated COVID-19 and fluctuating property markets, which 2 years ago said we were being told we're going to drop by 25%. Now they're 25% up, and now they're going to go down again, and they're left and right. Today we're recording this. It's budget day. I was picking through the paper today at the servo where I get my coffee every morning after I drop my kids at school about all these new stimulus payments coming in for first home buyers to get more punters into property, making more affordable. I think I'm going to have to do a podcast on that itself. I don't know if that's actually going to do that. I think it's going to do the absolute opposite. Have a lot more people buying properties at a particular price point, which is going to put a lot of upward pressure on it. But that's not the purpose of today. But going back, a reminder how long I've been doing this. 6 years ago, I had a chat with a guy. He was relatively new to the game. He was 21 years old at the time, and by memory, had been grafting for a number of years, laying concrete around the Central Coast and Newcastle area of New South Wales, and he was in a bit of a state of flux. He was moving to a new job, going up to get a job in a mine by memory, and he was telling me about his passion for property and how he's going to go about building out a portfolio with wealth creation in mind. Wasn't too sure of what he was going to do with it, which I hear a lot from sort of younger investors. So 6 years on, this guy's kicking goals all over the joint. You probably heard about him. He's pretty big on social media these days. Jack Henderson, director, Henderson Advocacy, is back on the podcast. We've seen him once upon a time in the middle there, but it's probably been 3 years since we've had a yarn.
Mate.
Jack.
Too long.
Mate, what's going on?
Too long. Well, mate, I spend a lot of my time now on TikTok, as we were just talking about.
Yeah.
So, mate, it is 6 years ago. 20 years old I was when I was on here for my first podcast. I listened to it the other day once we locked this in, and I was
Memory lane and all that.
I know.
What do we talk about?
Leaving Sydney.
Yeah.
20 years old, moving to Newcastle, got a new girlfriend. I was going to Europe. I said, I'm going to Europe. I'm going to start my new job when I get back. Mate, here we are, 6 years later.
And now you're
Bit of water under the bridge since
now you're helping people buy property.
Mate, yeah. It's been two and a bit years in business.
Yeah.
Portfolio's changed a little bit since the two I had when I was on here the first time. And mate, it's a good life now.
Loving life?
It is. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Very, very blessed, very lucky. And mate, it was a good feeling listening back to the that I said on the first episode. And I pride myself on doing what I say I'm going to do. And mate, when I listened back to all those things, I don't think there was anything that I said on that I didn't do. So
yeah, mate, I should tune into it. I'm going to do a car trip later on this week, so I might dial into it. Was I kind to you back then?
Mate, you were good. It was it was yourself and Steve.
Andy Scott, was he on there?
No. And what's Steve's business partner's name?
Steve Waters. Steve Waters and Victor Kumar.
Yeah,
Was it
right.
with those guys?
Yeah,
was it?
they were on there.
God.
They did a podcast with you the episode prior to me jumping in the studio. And
I actually remember it. It was in the
good.
studio.
It was very good.
It was right in the studio.
I sounded a little bit more ochre then. I wasn't working with high net worth, so
Have you had some elocution training? Have you?
I think it just happens naturally when you're not hanging around bogans on a construction site every day. You know? They say you become the average of your 5 closest friends, and the 5 closest to me now are a little bit different to what they were 6 years ago. So I think it just
you're still mates with the guys and girls back at home.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
Keeping it real and all that.
And I'm a very, very real individual. So
yeah.
No, mate, it was awesome. It's awesome. Yeah. And I appreciate you having me back on as well.
Oh, mate, it's great to see you. You know, and I remember I probably saw about 3 years ago. I remember sitting with you out in the kitchen here drinking a tin of VB.
That's right.
It was like a Friday afternoon. I can't remember. I can't remember what was going on, but I remember sitting there having a tin of VB with you, and that's when you were still just a property investor with another job, right? And no doubt you sort of had in mind setting up your own shop, Henderson Advocacy. You know,
sitting out there, yeah, mate. That was it could have been a slippery slope. You know, 2 or 3 more beers and.
Who knows?
Who would know where that
sliding doors moment and all that.
Exactly.
But you must have had a lot of sliding door moments now in this career that you've built out. And I think we're very fortunate. I've been quite vocal in, and I like to think, you know, a centre of influence supporting the growth of the buyer's agent sector in Australia. I think it's just going to keep going and going and going and going. It's still a really new industry, right? I think more and more Australians are going to be leaning on a professional to help them buy property moving forward, particularly with property getting so expensive these days, it being a huge investment, whether you're owner-occupier or investor. So it's good to see this emerging generation of buyer's agents coming through who are sort of modern in their thinking and modern the way in which they connect. You're talking about TikTok there, right? You know, we can't think that all buyers are middle-aged sort of 50-year-olds or whatever planning for retirement, right? There is this sort of cadre of young, talented, driven property investors in their 20s and 30s and 40s who are pushing the boundaries and pushing forward. So it's good to see you out there making ground, mate, and you're getting a bit of reputation. I saw a picture of your team. There's a few people in it.
25 or 27 or something now onshore, and then 5 or 6 offshore, yeah, and then obviously sort of executive team.
Yeah.
So very lucky. I've got an incredible business partner in Mark Kentwell, who's a
Mark Kentwell.
Yeah. Who's a thought leader?
Newcastle.
Yeah. Who's a thought leader of the industry.
Mark.
I think he's won a few REB awards with you guys.
I see him on the social media doing stuff on Sunrise on
Fit Pit down at Newcastle Beach.
It's Newcastle Beach, right?
Mate,
that's Mark.
That's Mark, yes.
Well, if you listen to this, g'day, Mark, mate. We've got to catch up. It's been a while, but
so, mate, very, very interesting character, awesome guy, and he's my business partner in Henderson Advocacy. And mate, I think we're an awesome combination with his mindset and experience in scale and managing and growing businesses, and I guess my ambition and drive and some would say marketing ability, and mate, we go hand in hand, and hence the reason we've sort of scaled so far. So at the end of last year we sort of did an analysis of the whole marketplace of buyers agents, and I think in terms of scale we're definitely the fastest growing in Australia. By far, yeah.
Is Monk still selling real estate?
Nah, I look occasionally, but
he was like top agent up that region, right?
Yeah, still is. I mean, he has like an EBU underneath him, but sold something last night for 5.5. Sold something last week, which hits a late Macquarie record for 7.6. Sold 8.7 in Merewether, which is the largest sale. So he still does like the really, really big stuff, but he's very hands off now, and he's got a sort of 5 or 6 businesses which all intertwine with one another, and
wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So
there you go. Wow, mate, it's good to connect, and we probably should be doing this sort of off air because it's been a while, but happy to do it on air so everyone's getting the live, raw, uncut, which is what people expect these days, right? Like, you don't want to polish things up too much.
The rawer the content, mate, I've learned, the better it goes.
The better it is. And, what I really want to chat to you about today, Jack, obviously get a bit of insights to what you're doing in business, but whether or not you're still investing in property. So I want to break that down, maybe do a bit of a rehash on your portfolio and where you're at. We'll just go to a quick break. Stay with us, everyone. Back in a moment. Creating wealth through property investing starts with getting the right finance in place. At Finney Mortgages, our brokers specialise in investment loans. We know the ropes to get even the most complex deals approved fast. With access to over 50 lenders, we have the know-how and connections to get better rates, improve cash flow, and release equity fast. So if you're looking for a mortgage broker that gets property investment, book in a call with a Finney broker now. Head to finny.com.au, that's FINN.com.au today. Welcome back, everyone. It's Phil Tarrant, host of the Smart Property Investment Show. I'm with Jack Henderson, Director of Henderson Advocacy. Started off as a property investor.
Mate, still a property investor.
Still, but there we go.
Absolutely.
I like it. I had Chris Gray in the studio recently.
He's a good man. I was
having a good yarn. And we actually spoke about you. I'm glad. We spoke about some unicycle thing that he was doing, but I think he did it, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Go and listen to a good guy, Chris. But we had a good yarn about you. But you've sort of very much sort of your property journey as an investor was born out of those connectivity, hanging around the eastern suburbs and surrounding yourself with the people who help shape your mindset towards property that put you on that path for acceleration. And it's good to see. And I think that, for any young investor out there, go and look at those people who have done it well and try and emulate what they've done. All that's good, but also most importantly, work out what hasn't worked out for them. So let their mistakes not be your mistakes is a good tip. But mate, what's the portfolio like now?
Mate, circa 16, 17 million.
Okay.
9 properties. I'm 25 actually, 26 in July.
26 in July.
So yeah, been investing now since I was 18, which, Chris mentored me through my first property. So it's sort of been a 7 or 8 year journey, and obviously the income I was on when I first started and the income now is, substantially different, and that allows for the growth of a portfolio. And I'm not naive to we've had a pretty incredible marketplace as well. So mate, it's been an awesome journey.
So rather than go down a pathway a lot of investors do where they buy properties which are probably more inverted commas affordable out in the mortgage belts, you sort of went down a more blue chip strategy. Tell us about that.
So, and this philosophy's built out, right? I had a mentor in Chris to begin with. And as I started to meet more and more people and hang around, people who are, I would say, are probably the top 1% of wealth in maybe all of the world, you start to learn a lot, not just about property, but around the way these people think and their spending habits and why they do their things that they do. So my whole strategy and what we do for our clients now and what I do personally is investing like the 1%, right? So you look at all the wealthiest peoples in the world and, I don't think Scott Farquhar or Mike Cannon-Brooks are buying, weatherboard shacks in Logan, right? And there's a reason for that. So that was my whole strategy was where are the wealthiest people in Australia investing? Where are they living? Where's the affluence? Where's the incomes? And, we want to be buying property as close as possible to these people for 2 or 3 reasons. The main one being they're more recession proof. There's a lot of talk at the moment about interest rate rises and inflation and what's happening in the election and all these other things. People that have that sort of wealth are not affected by micro movements in the overall economy. And they're the kind of people I wanted to be around. And then also, you think about property price growth in the macro. Growth is derived from people being able to earn a lot of money or earn more money, be able to go back to the bank, ask them for more money, and then spend more money on property, right? Without lending or without finance, very few people can actually buy property. And as I've gone from being an investor into a business owner and, spent more and more money on property and research and all the rest of it, we just do a really, really high level. Well, not high level, it's very in-depth. We present it in a high-level way of the 5 quintiles of the property in Australia, which is the top 20%, the bottom 20%, and then the 20% in the middle. And mate, the difference is staggering. Like the top 20% of property performs 5 times better than the bottom 20% of the marketplace from a growth perspective.
It's considerable.
Yes. And when you think about it, and again, this is not for everyone, right? This is definitely not for everyone. Some people don't have the financial capacity to do this. But I look at the majority of investors in Australia. I'm not sure what the numbers are right now, but it's circa 97 to 98% of all property investors in Australia stop at 1. There's a reason for that, right? So if 98% of investors stop at 1 property, why are you doing the same as all the other investors?
Well, it's definition of insanity, right?
Yeah, right. So, I looked at that and I said, if all the people I speak to are doing the same thing and, they haven't got the life that I want, they haven't got the freedom that I want, they're not earning the money that I want to earn, they're not doing the things that I want to do, then I need to learn from someone who's actually there and is actually doing it, which is what I did. And, it's essentially how and where it's gotten me to today.
Yeah. And really, can we just quickly talk through the portfolio? How many properties in the portfolio?
9. Oh, it was 10, but I've offloaded one.
Just sold one. Yeah. And so the total valuation was?
About 16 million, and that's bank val as well. So what they sell for in the marketplace is probably a bit more.
A bit more. And what sort of debt level are you carrying on?
Probably now 75%, I would say, because I just refinanced recently and did a big buying spree.
Yeah. Good. Which is, which a lot of people, we'll have a chat about that as a strategy right now. Okay, but 75% LVR. So a lot of people will say, well, it's pretty close to 80. You're maxing it out.
Let's just say it is 80.
But how old are you, right?
Yeah.
You've got a lot of time on your side. And what's the plan for it moving forward? Is it to keep building?
Yeah, well, my end goal is I want to be a billionaire. That's the overall goal. I want to transition out of having an advocacy business and having that still, and then building a company that builds the most luxurious buildings all around the world. That's my end goal. So 16 million to me it's good, of course, but when I look at people like your Triggerboffs and your Lowies and Mike Cannon-Brooks and it's a very, very small drop in the ocean in comparison, right? And that's just the way I think.
If you benchmark with that, and that's it, right? You got to be comfortable with the way you think and embrace the way you think, and it sounds as though you think the way you think because that's the way you think. It's not how other people have told you how to think, and that's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And you see a lot of property investors feel as though they need to think a particular way, where you got to channel that own stuff and work it out yourself. So what sort of assets are in your portfolio?
Combination of houses and apartments.
Yep.
Obviously, the first two, which we've spoken about on the SBI show before, was the apartment I bought in Coogee and the apartment I bought in Maroubra. Still own both of those apartments. I've got two in Bar Beach, Newcastle, in the same block, right on the ocean on Memorial Drive, and that's a block of 6. So over time, I'll buy the whole building. That's my play on that one. I've got a terrace in Paddington.
Nice.
I've got a penthouse in Newcastle East. I've got a block of land, which will be a house in a place called Ebenezer on the Hawkes River. The one I sold was another apartment in Adamstown.
That's about it. Thereabouts.
I think I'm missing one. There's something
Newcastle,
else.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you're really only getting started.
Yeah. And all of those assets are, very blue chip. All the areas that I mentioned are the highest incomes in Australia. Go back 30 years and track the growth. They're the highest growth rates in Australia, lowest vacancy rates, highest amount of scarcity because there's no more land. You can't build any more properties. What is there is all there will ever be. And, with that, if you want to buy in the areas, you got to buy it off someone who's already there. And the only way they're going to sell is if you pay a premium for it, which drives price growth. Yeah,
fair enough. And what's the sort of cash position on the portfolio? Is it costing you dough to keep these properties?
Yeah, for sure. They're negatively geared. I mean, we're in very, very low interest rate environments, right? So a lot of these properties I bought over a period of time. People call it dollar cost averaging in the markets. But probably cost me, 1% to 1.5% negative per year on the overall property portfolio value.
Yeah, but you're getting capital growth, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, the really big thing, which I don't believe a lot of people understand with property investing is, and we just touched on it before, is your income is going to be the thing that limits you with buying property, not the property. So if you don't focus on earning more and more money through your career, through your business, through whatever you're doing, property will not set you free. And that's the huge misconception. And it's shown in the numbers. 98% of people only own one property, right? One property is not going to make you financially free. The average superannuation balance on retirement is just over $200,000. That ain't going to set you free. So, the really big focus for me is to grow my income. And by doing that, that allows me to spend more money on property to grow the portfolio.
So your philosophy towards property, which it sounds as though is expanded out into life and aspirations and all that sort of stuff, why? For you, do you like to do it because you can? Did you want the trappings of wealth? Do you want to beat other people? What's that sort of inherent? It's a bit philosophical, but But what's that inherent driver?
I'm a philosophical person now, a little bit more than I was on the first time I got on the show.
Sort of picking it up, which I'm happy to chat really philosophically.
So look, when I first started, huge, very, very materialistic. I didn't come from money, right? I grew up in Western Sydney. My mum and dad were very, very, hardworking, white and blue collar. Mum grew up in housing commission. Dad grew up in the bush. So I didn't come from money. I never went without when I grew up. But I had things that I want. I had a lot of things that I didn't need that I wanted for, usually luxuries. So when I started investing in property, hence the reason I sort of, gelled with Chris was I wanted all of the cars and the boats and the holidays and the first class flights. It's not like that anymore. I've got all that stuff. And, you fill that hole, you realize it's not as exciting as you thought it was when you were young. And, now it's different. So I don't do it for anyone else. I do it for Jack Henderson and Jack Henderson only. My thing is to prove to myself that I can do it, right? So last year, I'm young. Most people, when they're young, especially when they've got the financial capacity to do it, they get off, they go off the rails and they start blowing a lot of dough and doing a lot of stupid shit. I went down that path when I was, sort of 24-ish. Last year, I completely gave up the piss. So I've been, sober now for just over 12 months. That had nothing to do with anyone else. That had to do with, if I did that, my performance as a human being, which reflects in all areas of my life, will be better. And it was. And it's the same with the investing. So the money you earn on a weekly basis is deflationary. What you could buy for $1,500 January 1 in 2021 is very different for what that $1,500 buys you right now. And if you just keep earning and spending and not using that cash to buy assets that generate cash flow and then that also generate growth, you are going backwards. If you have $100,000 in the bank as your safety net, that $100,000 is now $80,000 because the buying power of that 100,000 has probably decreased by 20% since last year, right? So I didn't know that when I started. Australians buy their own home. Mum and dad said you should buy your own home. I got expelled from school at 15, saved a heap of money between 15 and 18 and bought my own property. Now, like I said, because of the people I hang around, the networks that I'm inside of, you see, and a lot of these people are older people, right? They've generated a lot of wealth, lost a lot of wealth too. So you learn all of this stuff. So now it's because I have a much better understanding of how the world works and how the monetary system works and, the goals and aspirations that I have. This is the journey that I'm on.
And what Jack's talking about there essentially is experience and a love of learning, right? It's the only way you can shame and frame change.
100%, yeah.
And you need to be comfortable with that as well because what you don't know, you don't know. But,
and there's a lot I don't know.
And eventually you will get there and go, oh, I sort of know that now. I'm going to do things differently. And that's just life.
Exactly right. And if everyone goes back and listens to the first podcast I did, I said something in that podcast, which was I like to learn off people who have been there and done it. Literally now the people I hang around, I spent an hour with Izar Bashar, who owns EHP Labs on Tuesday last week. He's a billionaire, that guy. It's not silly, and I want to learn from people who are in that position. Now, not everyone's going to resonate with that, and that's totally fine. But if you want the ambitions of that, you want the freedom and the life that brings, then you need to understand what these people do, right? And like I said before, you look at the wealthiest people in Australia. I know where they live. A lot of them live within a 20-kilometre radius of this recording studio in Sydney. You need to look at what these people are doing. They're the smartest people in the world when it comes to finances, right? They may not be good in other areas of life, but that's not what we're talking about. They're the smartest people in generating wealth, hence the reason they're in the position they are in. They've got the smartest minds advising them on what to do. And if these people are buying properties in blue chip locations that do negatively cash flow, that have the highest growth, that have all the other things going for them, then why are more people not doing it? Maybe it's a mindset thing that they think that, no, we can't do that. It's too expensive. Maybe it's because they've been, being sold the wrong things over life. There's a lot more average people in the world than there are exceptional people in the world, right? Which means for people marketing and selling, there's a lot bigger marketplace to sell to when you're selling to the average punter.
There you go. And what Jack's talking about there is exactly one of the reasons why we do this particular podcast is to share these views. If we can help people get a shortcut into, doing things differently or shaping their attitudes towards stuff. But now you're that person, right? People come to you to help them on their property journey. I want to chat about that really quickly. We'll just get another break. Stay with us, everyone. Back in a moment. Welcome back, everyone. Phil Tarrant, host of the Smart Property Investment Show with Jack Henderson, Director, Henderson Advocacy, who's just been sharing his journey investing through property and now being one of those people that other people turn to help them on the property investment journey. We're recording this on the day the federal budget, federal elections coming up, Jack. What's going on, mate, with property in Australia? Let's have a quick chat about the market. Is it a good time to be investing in property?
Mate, it's interesting. I couldn't even tell you what's going on in the federal. I mean, I saw something that they're spending $1 billion on the rail network between Sydney and Newcastle.
I saw that.
Some other around the first home buyer and said, mate, it's all noise. It's all garbage. And you think back 12 months, COVID, the end of the market's going to fall out. Then inflation, now interest rate rises. It's all noise. That's all it is. We've had 100 years of, say recorded history in Australia, thereabouts. All of this happened already before. There's been inflation, there's been high interest rates, there's been low interest rates, there's been GFCs, there's been all this. And look where we are. There will be 100 more years of turbulence and all the other garbage that goes on, and it's life. So like for me, I don't care what happens today, tomorrow, next year, the year after. I know that if you buy good quality property in good quality locations and you have a good quality job and you earn good quality income, you will be fine. Or do nothing. That's a better option.
And you probably won't be fine.
Yeah,
I know you won't give away the family jewels, but what constitutes good property? Where is it at the moment?
So, good quality property is property that has a proven track record of performance. That's what good quality property is, right? Just like when you buy a business, I'd much rather buy a business that has proven track record than buy a business where you're going, because if X, Y, and Z metrics happen, this will do this, right? So people mix it up. Investing is based on past performance. Speculating is going, because I think this will happen, I will invest. So all this stuff that's coming out in the federal budget now, none of it's set in stone. It's all speculation. So people will make decisions based on things that haven't even happened yet, right? Yeah. So when we buy property for myself and for clients, we buy property where I can go back and go, here's 30 years of data. This is what it's done. You can then go do a timeline and go, what are the world events that's happened over the last 30 years? So if the next 30 years are the same, am I pretty confident that the next 30 will be as good as the last 30? I am. So that's what good quality property is. Now there's all the 1% in there, right? Like we just spoke about, what drives price growth? Incomes and people's ability to borrow money. So we want to be buying in areas that have incomes higher than the average. Because if you don't have an income higher than the average, then your growth is going to be average. We want scarcity. What makes this property stand out from the other properties in the area? Scarcity is different in every location that you're buying into. What's the largest buyer demographic in the marketplace? Owner-occupiers. So you want to buy a property that appeals to that demographic. A lot of people buy properties that appeal to investors. Guaranteed rental income. So it's understanding that whatever happens over the next 30 years, it's going to be good nights and days and years and months, and there's going to be bad days and years and months. That's life. So as long as you've got the financial capacity to buy and you've got the financial capacity to hold the property, that's all that matters.
So you've just heard a pretty real world practical take of property, and you know what? It sounds simple, right? And I think a lot of people overcook property and overcomplicate it, often for the purpose of potentially putting people into the wrong type of property. So if you don't understand it in property investment, stop. It's simple. Ask the questions. If you still don't understand it, don't do it. Pretty simple stuff. And what Jack spelled out there is a really simple way to view property. Probably a starting point for a lot of people when they shape their attitudes towards property. Jack, I could chat to you all day, mate. We're going to have to get you back in, and I reckon we can go a bit deeper with this sort of stuff if you're up for it.
We'll rip the top off it, mate.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Just scratching the surface.
Just scratching the surface, But
it'd be interesting. We're recording it today on the federal budget day. When we record the next one, I'm assuming will be in a few weeks or a few months' time. Yeah. Let's see what's changed.
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting.
It will be. Jack Henderson, Director, Henderson Advocacy. How do people contact you? What's the easiest way?
Mate, get on the TikTok. That's the first thing.
Is that,
Facebook, Instagram, website, henderson.com.au. All my socials are Jack C. Henderson. Mate, I'm here, there and everywhere.
All right.
I'm usually dressed up in like a pink suit or looking like a flamingo. So
yeah, he's looking sharp.
Yeah.
I see you on those fancy boat parties out there with your big pink flamingo. Hey, I need to ask you where you got that from. I need one.
Mate, the pink, two things.
The massive one, right?
Yeah. I'll show you the photo after this. Yeah. We just got the mascot. Mate, the where the pink flamingo come from is when we come on the show the first time, I was going to Europe. That's where the flamingo come from. I bought this big wide brim bucket hat. It had flamingos over. Yeah. And mate, here we are. So
that's it.
You could really say SPI has started the flamingo trend, and now I've got a kids book.
I need a massive pink flamingo for my pool.
I'll bring one in next time I'm here.
All right. Good to see you, Jack.
You
nice
too,
one, mate. Jack Henderson, Director, Henderson Advocacy. Go and check these guys out. Remember, smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. Latest breaking information around property. See you again next time. Until then, bye.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property, or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.
Leverage the power of your super with an investment loan through your self-managed super fund. Our expert brokers can help you invest in residential or commercial property through your super, even if you don't have the funds to buy an investment property outright. At Finney Mortgages, we have access to the lenders who specialise in loans for self-managed super funds, so we can maximise your loan amount and get your loan approved faster. To secure your financial future, book a call with an experienced Finney broker. Head to finny.com.au. That's FINNI.com.au today.